right. In this video, I will show you how to set up a custom package library in R and RStudio. But first, I thought I should give a little bit of context about the what and the why before we get too into how. So, a package library is just basically a folder where your R and RStudio software will read and install packages. So within the RStudio window, you can see all of your packages in this Packages tab. And um, there are two types of package libraries, actually, the system library and a custom library or user library. So the system library by default comes with a set of packages that are bundled in with your R installation. And this is usually saved in a place that's available for all user accounts. So once it's installed, anybody who logs in to their user account on your computer will have access to them. Typically, on a Windows machine, it might be somewhere like in program files, usually in a subfolder of R, and then the R version, and then the library. Uh, since if it's in your program files, usually it requires some level of administrator access to modify. Um, whereas user library, usually this is something that you might need to set up. I put an asterisk here because in my most recent, when I reinstalled R on my personal computer and downloaded the new version, there was already a user library set up as a default. But when I tried installing it in the sandbox environment, there wasn't. So it may or may not already be there. And I'll show you how to see if it is. Um, Depending on where you set up your custom library, it can be nested inside your user account. So other users who log into your computer will not see it, and you can choose it to live wherever you want. And an advantage of this is it doesn't require administrator access unless, of course, you put it somewhere above the user level. So why set up a custom package library? A good reason is if you're working on a computer with multiple accounts and you don't and you want to work independently. Perhaps on your system you have limited user permissions. Maybe it's a computer that's managed by an institution. This is the situation I had working for the U.S. Department of Agriculture. I couldn't modify the system library, so I had to set up something within my user account. And even if you don't have that situation, it can be nice to set up a custom package library that's separate from your R library. It makes it easier to migrate your packages between versions of R, or perhaps place your library in a location on your computer that's part of some kind of automatic backup system. For example, I put my package library into my OneDrive. So if, my computer gets lost, I still have to have all my packages along with the rest of my files. All right, so let's switch over to, I'm going to illustrate what it looks like after you've already done this. So move my window. This is my version of R and RStudio that's on my system, not the sandbox. So in my user library, you can see here I have a lot of packages. Ooh, you have to scroll down pretty far. Keep scrolling, keep scrolling, keep scrolling. Lots and lots of packages. This is what happens. And then I get finally down to the system library at the bottom. This is just the handful of packages that came with R. So uh, RStudio knows where to find those. So if I want to see the address on my computer where those are, I can use this function libpaths. A nice thing in RStudio is it will give you suggestions for completing your code, open and close parentheses saying this is a function. So when I run this function in the console here, press enter, it's showing two things. This is the location for the user path that I set up previously. I put it within my user account. OneDrive documents are Win Library 4.5. This part of the address is pretty standard. Um, and this allows me to keep track of my libraries. Let's say if I decided to switch to a Mac, I would have a Mac library. Or if I have different versions of R, I would have Win Library, with the new version of R. And then in my system libraries, I have this program files. I haven't installed the newest version of R on my computer yet, so it's still pointing to 4.5.1. So now I'm going to switch over to my sandbox. So this is the virtual computer where I am demonstrating software installation. I have R and RStudio already installed. So I am going to open up RStudio. There it goes. There we go. It opens up a little slowly sometimes. Go. Wants you to know it's from Posit. All right. So I am going to make this window bigger. This is assuming you've already, set up RStudio, told it what version of R to use. This is version 4.5.2. And if I look in the packages here, you might notice that it's just the system library. There's nothing under the user library heading. And if I type in .libpaths, this is only showing one thing, right? The program files, 4.2, blah, 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 library. So if I install a package, let's say, I'm just going to do this silly package Cowsay. If I install a package, it's actually, okay, it's automatically installing a few other packages. All of these, now I see Cowsay is under system library. And if I load it and run a function, okay, it is recognizing that library, but it's still grouped with everything that's part of the system with R. So if I update to a new version of R, um, and that's going to have a new system library, and I'm not going to have that anymore. So to set up my user library, the first thing I need to do is to make the folder where I want that to live. So there's lots of different ways of doing that. You can work with I just realized I'm not in full screen. Let me get into full screen. Here we go. You can work through the Windows Explorer. You can work through the terminal. Say allow. Um, this terminal is just showing you what your home directory is. Um, or I can actually just do it. There's a user interface through RStudio that will allow me to make files and folders. So I am going to make a new folder, enter the folder name. I mentioned before there was this um, conventional syntax that I am going to keep, and I put all this in the instructions that I linked in the video description. So R and this slash on a Windows machine is indicating I want a subfolder within a folder called R. I'm going to write win dash library and then another subfolder for R version 4.5. So the system folder you might have noticed was 4.5.2, whereas this is just 4.5. So The um, the smaller iterations, 4.5.1, 5.2, point 3, those are smaller changes that might come with a new system library, but most of your packages will still work fine. So for your packages, you can just stick with this lower level 4.5. And once R has progressed to a point where it's 4.6, maybe you'll want to start to think about a new package library, but this will work for a while. So just pick OK. In this system, it is within my documents folder. So if I look here, my user account on this sandbox is called WDAG utility account. Normally this would just be like your name. Anyway, let's see, there's my mouse. If I look at my documents, I now have this folder called R, Win Library 4.5, which is empty. Um, I'm going to, but it's good just to kind of have a sense of how files are stored and organized on your computer. Okay, so in order to tell R to use this as my user package directory in Windows, might be something different with Mac, I have to do a special Windows step. So I'm going to minimize R, and in my search bar, one way of doing this is entering in the system environment. There you go. Called edit the system environment variables. This is getting into the guts of Windows a bit, but it's actually really useful to know how to do this for lots of different software things. So good to practice with something fairly easy. So this opens a window called System Properties, and this is Windows 11, by the way. If you're on a different version of Windows, if you just Google like how to edit system environment properties in Windows 10, you'll find plenty of videos, resource documents. Um, okay, so I'm System Properties, environment variables, and here, similar to how I had a user library and a system library, I have user variables and system variables. These just apply to this user account, whereas these apply to everybody. So uh, I'm going to make an account, or sorry, make a variable. So press new, and there's a standard variable name called R. Let me make sure I get this right. Um, I have the detailed instructions on there. I'm just looking them up for myself. Let's see. Oh, there we go. R underscore LIBS underscore user, all capitals. Um, this is something that RStudio will automatically recognize, and R2, I guess. And then variable value, this is the path where I just made that file. So I could copy and paste the text, or I could browse within, okay, documents, or my user account, documents, or Win Library 4.5. That's the folder. So, or I could just copy and paste this from my Explorer, whatever's easier. Okay, so now this variable is made. If you already see a variable called rlibs user, perhaps, it was, sorry, my cat's eating my houseplants. It was already made, you can then edit this variable and change the folder that it points to, but we don't need to do that. So just click OK. And now I may have to, I don't know, I have two windows open, close out RStudio completely and reopen it. This I don't need anymore. Okay. There we go. So now reopened RStudio. And if I go to packages, it's still only showing system library because I haven't installed any packages since I established my user library. But if I type in lib paths quotes, now I see two things here. There's This is the folder that I just made and set in the paths variable, and then this is my systems system folder. So now if I say install a new package, I'm going to install a silly package called Fortunes. Now it's saying, okay, it's installing here. And every time you install a package, it's going to say where it's installing it. And now it's been installed. And so now on my package tab, I see one item under user library, Fortunes. But you know, with when it comes to loading packages, you don't need to specify the library, right? So I have, for example, if I want to load, um, so if I have something in my source, my system library, let's say well, I installed Cowsay there, but let's say I load that, R recognizes it. It knows to look, it first looks in the user library, and if it doesn't find it there, it looks in the system library. Great. And then if I want to do library fortunes, it found it there. Great. And now I can, and then this just chooses a random quote to show me. So that is how you set up a custom package library, and I hope you find it useful. All right. So now I'm going to stop my recording.